Our focus today will be on what we call the system of engagement. It's how our consumers consume your service. Let's start by revisiting the common service data model first. Ideally, we want all of our requests for service to come in through only one gateway. When we look at the common service data model, we see the consumer interface to our offering is via request catalog. There are some offerings that you may not want to advertise in a catalog. Also, there are different catalogs for different types of consumers. Typically, we have an internal catalog for an employee, and we have external catalogs for our customers. The roles that the employees and the customers have will dictate which types of items that they can see in the catalog. For example, you probably should be a manager or above if you're going to submit a payroll change. We all live in cities, so this example should be what we'd want to see as far as digital services go for a city. These are items I can click on to go request the city respond to something. A loose dog, illegal dumping, anything else that the city handles for me. For employees, things should look and act similar. After all, when employees are consuming our services, they're customers too. Let's look at how we might approach defining a catalog item for some popular services. I tried to stick with things everybody would know for our examples, starting with email. Email is the service that I'm tasked with providing, but it's not exactly what I need to offer to my consumers. Think about that first. What is it that they need in the case of email? It's an account, an email address. Next, do I need to make this available in the catalog, or is that something maybe that they don't need to see? With billing, for example, I can automate the billing when the user is created. Maybe I don't need to show that to them. Maybe I do if I want to give them the option to change the billing from a monthly bill to an annual bill. On most of these, I would expect that we'll want the consumer to be able to initiate the request on their own. Either the consumer, the end user, or the manager themselves. And it's likely that you don't want employees to be able to create any email account, so we can restrict this ability to create these accounts to managers and above. Approver interactions will be automated. Just have to know who they are in order to automate them. Are you doing chargebacks? If so, who are you charging back? This is where your foundations part comes in. The CSDM comes in for the foundations, and it defines those cost centers and different departments. This way you can charge them back in these scenarios. And lastly, what is it that we want to come of this? What are our desired outcomes? That's the 101 version of a service catalog item thought process. Let's take a quick look at a few more examples. In this case, we've been tasked to host a website for other departments in my organization. Those departments need to be able to request a site. I also want to offer them some support options. Maybe one comes with 5 hours of developer time and the other one comes with 10 hours of developer times every month. Also, if they don't want to buy support or they need more hours than they get with their support contract, I can provide that on an hourly billing rate. On this one, I don't show the hosting fee, but it may be that cost is buried inside the request for the new site, and it may be recurring. Let's talk about a customer scenario for a minute. In this case, a citizen is a customer of a city. And that citizen, they want things that the city takes care of to be addressed in a timely manner. These aren't chargeable items because you get it as a citizen. But others may be. For example, if they need to buy a business license, you may need to charge them back as a city. But for these examples, we don't need to charge them back. What about an employee that needs a specific software on their laptop? My service takes care of everything for those employees, including the procurement of the software, the installation of the software, and the first-line support on an ongoing basis. That's the software service. I charge back the cost of the software plus a small uplift on that software to cover the cost of installation and that first line support. This last one is from the technical catalog. The user would go in as an employee, but might not have access to get a server unless they were in the IT department, or they owned an application service from another department and they were able to get servers to run that application service. The value here is probably obvious. There's a team that just gets your server. Maybe it's a choice if it's a virtual machine or a physical machine. Maybe it's a choice of the size of the machine they get. But all of those options are limited, and all of that detail is taken care of for you on the back end by that technical service owner. Modern digital services are often expressed across 4 systems, and we talked about this once before. The system of engagement is how we intake requests. Is it going to be a web, a mobile, a chatbot? Is it going to be over social media, email, or phone? Those are all the systems of engagement, all ways to get that request in. The system of action is the automation or the processing of that request. Going into the email system, in this case, and creating the account should be something that's done automatically. It shouldn't be a request for a person to go in and do it manually. There's no reason today that a user should be doing this step. The system or systems of record is where the data is stored. In this case, it's just a request to add an email account. So ServiceNow would be our system of record. In many cases, there may be 4 or 5 systems of record to accommodate some of these services that we're going to build. The final system is one that you should be most concerned with because you'll use it as a service owner on a regular basis. The system of insight brings back all of the metrics to one place for a service owner to see. The service owner workspace. Here I can see how many people are using the offerings or subscribing to the service. I can drill in and see all the people responsible for all the different underlying parts that enable the service owner to deliver. In this lecture, we talked about the catalog part of the common service data model. It's the part of the model that defines the interaction between your service that you're building and the consumers that are consuming it. We showed just a top-level view of that in some example service catalogs. Next, we spoke through 5 common examples. And then lastly, we touched on what happens behind the scenes of a request for your service. In our next lecture, we'll take a step back from the technology aspects and talk more about the dollars and cents.